Live from the Duck Boat. Here we are with your October 2021 Cellar Series description. Hold on a second. I'm in a duck boat, first and foremost. It's fall. The kids are already back to school. We're kind of looking at kind of some hardier fare, so to speak, some cooler weather, and with that, some pretty exciting new wines. So with all due silliness, we have some very, very serious wines to talk about. So 3 whites, 3 reds. We're really going to be looking at kind of an old world set here. There's one new world wine in here which I'm super excited about, a great Rhone Ranger from Paso Robles, but everything else is about kind of old school. So it's about $135, before the or after the discount factored in, and let's kind of jump in. 3 whites and 3 reds. So we're going to Portugal. I don't even know if we've ever been to Portugal in this series before, which is it's about time. So we're looking at here is Antonio Pinto, and in all honesty, this is quite a long name here. So this is Antonio João Pinheiro Pinto. So this is a wine coming from Bucelas, and Bucelas is about a half an hour north of Lisbon. And in that very thirsty capital, they kind of just down these really crisp mineral whites based off of grapes like Arinto and Cercial. So this is 85% Arinto and Cercial. And it's from an area called Bucelas. And Bucelas is making really, I feel like an appellation that makes really high quality wines that we just don't see very often. It's about 6 hectares of vines that Antonio farms, and he's got about 30-year-old vines here that he's working with. Very lightly fined and filtered. The wines tend to be, I wouldn't say maybe Chablis-like, but they're definitely crisp and focused and kind of these crunchy wines. I had the opportunity to have dinner with some customers recently who are of like Portuguese heritage, and they grilled mackerel and chopped them up and served them in this broth. And we had this wine alongside of it with some sherries as well, and the wine just worked beautifully with these kind of seafood dishes. So I look at this as kind of where we're starting, kind of our journey for these 6 wines in that kind of light and crisp zone, because we're picking up kind of some weight really quickly here. So let me get this. The next wine is our token New World wine. So this is Tablas Creek. Tablas Creek is a really important producer for a variety of different reasons. I think most noteworthy is that it is kind of this old world, new world project from the owners, the Perrin family from Chateau Beaucastel, along with the Haas family who owns Vineyard Brands. I'm not sure if they still own Vineyard Brands, but it's one of the great American importers of French and Italian wines. And it's kind of the Hallmark family. They went into business with the Perrins with the idea of how do we create this Rhone world in California. So this is a Southern Rhone style white wine, and there's a lot going on in this wine actually. So it's 40% Grenache Blanc, 21% Viognier, some Roussanne, Marsanne, and Claret Blanche. So when you think about it, it starts to act a little bit like a Chateauneuf du Pape Blanc, which is I think exciting going into the fall. With the kind of fuller flavored dishes that we kind of start to crave. We look for texture in our white wines too, and this definitely has it. So, the Perrin family and the Haas family kind of started this nursery on site because they had access to some of the great clippings from vineyards from Chateau Beaucastel. So it made perfect sense for them to really kind of become a kind of like a way stop for Rhone style clippings, and just to kind of propagate all things Rhone in Paso Robles. So a really lovely medium to full body white wine here. So we are going to our 3rd white, and we are going all the way to the Jura. So this is a wine from Stéphane Tissot. Stéphane Tissot is I don't know if he's a magician or a maniac or something kind of in between, but he makes these really fantastic not oxidative styles of Jura wines. There are these 2 camps in the Jura. There's the oxidative style and the reductive style. And he makes his wines in that very kind of clean, focused, reductive style. I think that many of his counterparts in Burgundy are really embracing as well. So patchwork refers to kind of just the blend of different soils that he has access to in his family vineyard. So he is entirely biodynamic, his entire estate of 35 hectare. And this is kind of a blend of his Chardonnay that comes from limestone and clay soil. So a very complete wine. It's full-bodied, there's no doubt, but it has plenty of freshness and plenty of life to it. The Jura has this little bit of funk that finds its way into a lot of the wines that we really, really love. And I think that Tissot is not, it's part of their wines as well, which makes it kind of just, it has this little X factor to it, which makes it a special Chardonnay. So hope you enjoy this amazing bottle of Chardonnay. When we visited Stefana a few years ago, it was one of the most exhausting and exhilarating tastings I've ever been to. I think we tasted something like 30 wines in an hour, maybe in an hour and a half at the most. Like I said, he's a bit of a maniac, he's a bit of a magician, but he makes incredible wines. So, our first red is coming from the Veneto. So we are looking at a producer called Sperry, and Sperry is a very serious producer. They make incredible Amarone, some of the best Amarone that we see regularly, I feel like. But this is their Valpolicella Classico Superiore Ripasso from the 2016 vintage. So a total hand mouthful there. But there's a lot of different descriptors that go into exactly what they're trying to describe with this wine. So it's a blend of kind of the three great grapes, Corvina, Rondinella, and Molinara, about 70% Corvina per se. But they repass this wines when they're doing the fermentation through the kind of the used must of the Amarone production. So Amarone being kind of the king of the hill in the Veneto for red wines. They reuse kind of part of that winemaking process, the must, to kind of reinvigorate and revitalize the second kind of fermentation to kind of bring these wines even a little bit more richness, depth, and spice. So a really lovely wine from outside of Verona. Moving on. And we're staying in Italy. Our last three wines, all of the red wines are Italian, kind of an Italian wine feature for the red wines, which we're super excited about. This is Conterno Fantino's 2017 Barbera Vignota. So Conterno Fantino, there's a lot of Conternos, there's a few Fantinos, and they all make pretty badass wines. This is kind of one of those great producers that makes incredible Barolo from a vineyard called Ginestra, but they make really good Barbera too. So about 40-year-old vines here in this bottle. It is fermented primarily in stainless steel and then kind of works its way into French oak barriques. But we tasted this wine in a lineup of several different Barbera and Nebbiolo a week or two ago, and thought that this wine in particular had this really kind of fine, classic quality to it. There's a fair amount of tannins to it, there's a fair amount of acid to it. It seems really classic in a lot of ways, and we really kind of liked it for exactly that. It didn't have this kind of big, fat, kind of like dumbed down fruit that you can find at times. In the Langhe, it had this kind of chiseled, very fine, well-defined kind of fruit set to it. Really lovely Barbera here, so from a top-notch producer. So we are finishing up with kind of a very special opportunity for us to try some aged Barbaresco. So this is Marchesi di Barolo, and Marchesi di Barolo makes Barbaresco too. This is coming from the villages of Barbaresco and Neve, and this is from 2013, which is a really killer vintage in the Langhe. You might have heard me kind of talking a lot and maybe selling a lot with 2013 vintage because it's pretty good. I mean, everything's kind of in the right spot. Like, you've got great concentration of fruit, you've got great natural acidities in place, and you have just this lovely balance amongst all of them. So we don't have the opportunity to feature Barolo and Barbaresco very often in this series because it's expensive, but we got a great deal on this. We're excited to pass it along. We're excited for you to kind of open up these wines. I enjoyed a bottle of this this past week, and I put it in a decanter, and after about an hour, it just became this other soft, beautiful, like red fruit expression of Nebbiolo. So yes, that is our October Cellar series from the Duck Boat. I don't know if we'll ever do this again, so I hope you enjoy where we're at. These will all be available tomorrow afternoon. Thanks for playing along. Tasting notes as always, and we'll see you again next month.